Yishem Adonai, Hashem's name will be blessed forever and ever. The Omer. Omer, it's a time in the Jewish calendar, on the Jewish calendar. Starts from Passover, ends at Shavuot. What's the word Omer? Omer. In Hebrew, you spell it how? Ayin, Vav, Mem, Resh. Omer. How do you define on what's Omer? So you're familiar with counting, right? Anytime I tell you Omer,
the 49th level of impurity, counting upward toward the Torah.
This is the special days when Bnei Israel left Egypt, right? 49 days, they're receiving the Torah. Good. They also call it the days of the Omer. Why? What's the word Omer stand for? So Omer is stand for the wheat, the barley, that they are harvesting and preparing for a ceremony in the Beit HaMikdash, in the temple. Okay? So we call it the counting for the Omer, because they were counting every day till the 49th day, as it says in the Torah. The Torah specified that and commanded us to do that. And today, since we don't have Beit Mikdash, we are just keeping the custom, okay, to count for the Omer. But Be'ezrat Hashem soon, the Mashiach comes, we build the Beit HaMikdash, we'll have to do all that beside the other melachot, the other type of work is required. It's required in Beit HaMikdash. So it's not just the counting, right? I see a lot of people that they didn't shave, for example. Don't shave in the Omer. Why you don't shaving? Oh, it's the Omer. What about the party music? No, it's the Omer. Getting married? No, it's the Omer. What's it got to do with Omer? No shaving, no music, no weddings. No, what's up with that? What happened these days?
Rabbi Kiva, first read today.
Okay, so we'll see on that. Be'ezrat Hashem. Let's talk a little bit and learn about the concept called Omer, where it's all started. Yes, please. Appreciate it. Just a little bit. This one, yeah. Just a little bit, the other side. Okay. The other side. Yes, okay, wonderful. So the Torah, why are we counting? Because the Torah commanded us, right? The Torah commands us in Vayikra, Leviticus 21:15, quote, "You must count for yourself starting from the day after Shabbat, from the day that you bring the wave offering of the Omer. There must be 7 complete weeks." So far, so good. We all know that. But I read something that I'm going to repeat again, and I want to ask you a question. When we starting counting the Omer, it says clearly, starting from the day after Shabbat. You would say Motzei Shabbos, Saturday night, right?
Oh, but wait.
So when we start, we had Passover Saturday night.
Right. So
Sunday, and we started to count when?
Sunday night.
When in Israel they celebrate, this is the Motzei Chag. It's after the holiday. Going into Chol HaMoed, outside of Israel, we started the new Yom Tov, the second Yom Tov. Not the new, the second Yom Tov.
Like, did they already count Motzei Shabbos?
We all count together.
Right.
Just what happened was, they don't have to keep 2 days, we keep 2 days. What I'm trying to say here is, what day was it on the calendar this year that we counted for the Omer? Not quite after Shabbat. We waited till Sunday night, which is already Monday. So we basically counted on Monday. But the Torah specifically said, after Shabbat. Did you ever think about that? You get the question?
Does it work out correctly anyways, because the Torah would have known that sometimes it's going to fall on a Shabbat?
Absolutely. I'll tell you more than that.
When did they start counting? We started, you said Sunday night. When did they start
They
counting?
did it on Sunday night. They did it on Sunday
But
night.
also, he said.
When they start physically the first counting?
Yes.
After leaving Egypt.
No, you got now.
He said Sunday night.
Sunday night,
We all
thank you.
count-
Oh, this year, Sunday night. Sometimes would be, I don't know, Tuesday night or Wednesday night. You see, it's not Shabbat. So are we breaking the law here? We're transgressing some laws in the Torah.
No.
This is a famous argument, a disagreement that the Orthodox Jews, the Jews, the Pharisees, the Ferushim, have with the Sadducees.
Okay.
The Pharisees, the Sadducees, they saying the Torah says Shabbat. It has to be Shabbat. But we know that Shabbat is not limited to Shabbat.
Oh, you want to bring it into the.
There's another day called Shabbat. Shabbat means a day of rest, a day that you're resting. So it could be Shabbat, and it could be also any other Yom Tov, because Yom Tov also called Shabbat. This is why in many communities they sing Mizmor Leyom HaShabbat, Mizmor Leyom HaShabbat, Tov Lehodon. Okay. In the holidays, so hey, it's a Shabbat. Why are you saying in Yom Tov? Because Yom Tov is a day of rest, day that you shovet. Shovet means resting. Shovet, Shabbat. Shabbat. Okay. So the Torah teaches you that Shabbat could be Shabbat, and the Shabbat could be Yom Tov also. This is why many of the halachot of Shabbat very much like Yom Tov. Okay? Except when the Torah expanded a little bit, when the Torah says you keep Yom Tov as you keep Shabbat, just everything that is related to preparing food, cooking food, you have an extra, leniency. Fine. Thank you. You may cook on Yom Tov, which is something you can't do on Shabbat. Okay, so in order to emphasize that, by the way, the rabbis gathered when they harvest for Yom, starting the counting on the first day, they were gathering, and they says, Shabbat Hayom, everybody reply, Shabbat Hayom. Shabbat and 3 times. The whole Kahat, the congregation says Shabbat Hayom, today is Shabbat. Should I cut? I cut, everything 3 times. This, if you think to emphasize, to show that we know exactly what we're doing, we know that this is not Shabbat, could be one day in the middle of the week. And we are counting from after the first holiday, first Yom Tov, starting Chol HaMoed in Israel. Here is the second Yom Tov, and then Chol HaMoed. So far, so good. Any questions?
I think, I still don't, because if sometimes the Torah portions are off between the diaspora and Israel, then why can't the Omer count be off? Like, why do they have to wait for us?
Nobody waits for anybody.
Nobody waits.
We're all starting on the same day, not in the same exact hour, because in Israel they are like around 8 hours ahead of us. But when it's Monday or Sunday night, here we started counting, and Sunday night there they start counting.
So they didn't have a Yom Tov.
It's nothing to do with the second Yom Tov. It's to do it after the first Yom Tov, the day that it was Shabbat for you.
Okay.
It can be next year in the middle of the week. Not sure when, maybe Wednesday.
Does this have anything to do with how Shabbat HaGadol, why Shabbat HaGadol is called that? Is it like, that's the big Shabbat before the little ones, or is that anything to do with this?
No, Shabbat HaGadol is related to the miracle that happens to the Jewish people when they were saved in the plague of the firstborn. So,
Okay.
the Torah commands us in the Vayikra, you must count for yourself, starting from the day after Shabbat, from the day that you bring the wave offering of the Omer. There must be 7 complete weeks. Our sages taught, the Torah in Menachot, tractate 65b, that the meaning of, quote, the day after Shabbat does not mean Sunday. because Saturday night's already Sunday, right? Rather, it means the day after the initial Yom Tov of Pesach, the first day of Chol HaMoed. The word Shabbat, our sages explain, sometimes mean Yom Tov, and this verse is one example of this. Therefore, the Torah's commandment is to count the 7 weeks of the Omer, beginning on the evening of 16 Nisan. What happened in the 15? We all said together, Ma nishtana alayla hazeh mikol alayla. We ate matzah, guys, I'm tired, it's too long. All the complaints, regular complaints every year, that was 15. 16, counting the Omer. No. Regardless, okay, so beginning Omer on the evening of 16 Nisan, regardless of which weekday it happens to be. The Sadducees, a variant sect of Jews who plagued our nation during the era of the second Beit HaMikdash, and who contribute in no small way to its eventual destruction, incorrectly interpreted the verse to mean Sunday. For them, it was always be Sunday, because Sunday is after Shabbat. Since they understood that the word Shabbat can mean Saturday only, our sages took various steps to ensure that the people would not be swayed by the Sadducees' arguments. Okay, they were powerful, they were strong politically, they were rich, people among them, they influenced a lot of people. They caused disaster to the Jewish people. There is a sect till today, in very few places in Israel, Ramleh, next to Shechem, Jenin, that the Sadducees live under different names, and they do the Korban of Pesach every year. They sacrificing on Pesach. They follow the Torah only. There for them there is no oral Torah. It's only written Torah. I visited one of their Beit Knesset. It's kind of like a mosque, but Knesset. It looks like Beit Knesset. They have a special Siddur. I visited, I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago. One of a family member took me there. And interesting to speak with them, to see what they believe, and to see the special writing. They have a Torah scroll, they have Ark, they have like everything. But they don't believe in the oral Torah, and it's basically a mess. Karaite. The Karaim, you can read about them in Israel. Okay. Rather than specify a date for the festival of Shavuot, the Torah states that it is the day following the 7 weeks of the Omer. Give me the date. Give me the date. Tell me 6 of Nisan. I know when the day comes. Okay? But how the Torah related that day? They saying just start counting. At the end, this is Shavuot. What's the reason? Today it's easy. It's hard to get this concept because we have a calendar from now till the end of the days, right? Back then, they have to announce for every holiday that her witnesses coming and they testify and an announcement and fire and light it and then send the messages out. If you wanted to schedule a Shabbos bar mitzvah, it wasn't that easy. You had to wait. Not only Shabbat bar mitzvah, a holiday, and so forth and so on. Today it's much easier. Okay, so rather specify the festival of Shavuot, the Torah states that it is the day following the 7 weeks of the Omer. The Shibulei Leket, citing the Midrash, explained that when the people of Israel left Egypt, Moshe Rabbeinu told them that in another 50 days, God was going to give them His Torah, fulfilling the verse, quote, when you bring the nation out of Egypt, you will serve God on this mountain. The Hebrew word in the verse for you will serve is ta'avdun. Okay. The word la'avod, or the roots of the word avad, it means work, serve. Ani oved, I'm working or I'm serving. What is a eved? Servant. What's the root? Ayin bet daled. In the Torah, it says, bring this word a little bit different than usual. When I wanted to say, when you get there, you ta'avdu, you will serve. I should say, you ta'avdu. Vav at the end. But here the Torah says, ta'avdun. The Torah added a nun at the very end. Why did the Torah add the word? You understand the question? Instead of ta'avdu, you will serve. It says ta'avdun with a nun at the very end, which makes sense. I can translate it the same, but the Mepharshim was wondering why these addition. I can live without the nun. Ta'avdun, which is written with an extra letter nun. No, so the letter nun has a numerical value of 50. So it's hinted at the very end of this word. So you serve on the 50th day. Comprende? Okay. Thus, alluding that the special occasion of serving God by accepting His Torah will take place at the Mount of Sinai, in exactly 50 days. So it's also hinted in the Torah, ta'avdun, nun at the end, numerical value is 50. It's hinted there, as soon as you leave Egypt, you count 50 days, and you will serve Hashem, and you receive the Torah. So far, so good? Any questions? No? Good. Next. So, you guys very quick. The people were so anxious to receive the Torah that they began counting the days. What are they saying? Today 1 day has passed. Today 2 days has passed. And so forth. In commemoration of these eager anticipation, God commanded us to count these days every year between Pesach and Shavuot. People were so excited. Today is the 15th day, the 30th day. We're very close to receive the Torah. No nation in the world had such a great relationship with their Creator. We are the only nation that is so blessed and lucky to have such a special relationship with God. And God is dealing with us directly ever since. Okay, so this is probably, I would say, the most greatest and significant event that ever happened in the world after it was created. When God communicated with people, heard their voice, receiving the Torah, the set of laws that we are living by till today. Okay? So Rabbi Yehuda Chassid offered a different rationale for this mitzvah. Since Pesach always takes place in the beginning of the spring, the farmers become very busy after the holiday, tending to the harvest of the barley and wheat crops, and they have precious little time to consult the rabbis to find out when Rosh Chodesh Sivan will take place. You have to understand that back then we were talking about people that most of them were farmers. In order to survive, to live, you have to have your own livestock, small field. So everybody were involved that way or another with harvesting, especially when they want to have a mitzvah. Okay? And by the way, it starts with barley and ends with wheat. The beginning, okay? Why? What's the difference between barley and wheat? So from the 5 grains, you're most familiar probably with bread that made out of either barley or mostly wheat, right? Barley is more like it's called ma'achal behemot, more for the animals. They made for the animals. And wheat is for men, for people. So it shows that we elevated ourselves from being like a behemoth, people with no Torah, no purpose in life, from barley to wheat. Okay? Anyways, okay. If the festival, so we said that they were busy, and this is why the easiest method is just to count. Don't have to ask the rabbi. You start counting. Like today, most of the people won't ask the rabbi what day is Pesach or Shavuot or whatever holiday. You have it on the calendar. It's right there. If the festival of Shavuot was a specific date, they would not know when it was take place. Therefore, the Torah commanded us to count the days and to pronounce the 50th day as the festival of Shavuot. Okay, any questions?
The question.
Yes.
Why does it make a big deal that you can't count? You always, when somebody asks you what's the count of the Omer, you can't say the future day. You always have to say the past day. It was.
Okay, so you're asking questions that we're probably going to deal later, but let me try to answer now. There's an argument between the rabbis, okay, it's machlokas with the rabbis, if the mitzvah of counting is from the Torah or if it's a rabbinical mitzvah. Rambam and others hold this is a mitzvah from the Torah. Others hold that this is it's a rabbinical law because we don't have Bet Mikdash today. How is that related to what you ask? So, if every mitzvah, if the mitzvah is from the Torah, it means that every day you count by itself, stand by itself. If it's a rabbinical mitzvah, it's a whole, like one whole mitzvah. And if I have to count the exact day, that will bring a problem if I already mentioned that day. For example, let's say today we're supposed to count 8 days, the 8th day. So how we count the 8th day? We say today is the 8th day, which is 1 week and 1 day, right? We are counting the days and the weeks. We'll see later that some say it's a separate mitzvah to count the days, it's a mitzvah to count the weeks. When you ask me, hey, what day is today? If today is the 8th day, you already counted. You already mentioned the days. All right? Since you mentioned the days, now there's an argument, hey, how can I say a bracha on something like you ate the apple, and now say, what should I say bracha of the apple? And now you can't say borei pri ha'ed because you ate it already. You already mentioned the day, now you can't say bracha over something you already counted. Make sense? So we're trying to hint and saying, yesterday was the 7th day. You're supposed to get it, that today is the 8th. What if I say tomorrow is the 9th? It'll be fine, but it's better. We used to say yesterday was. Now, even if accidentally, we'll see later, accidentally you said the 8th day, it could be that you still can count, because you just mentioned the days without the weeks. And you just said the days to help a friend without intention to count. So there is some rules bound with this idea. Okay. The Sefer HaChinuch, one of the Sefer that the book that I told you, it's a must in every Jewish library, right? Number 306 concurred with the thesis of Shibbolei Aleichem, we mentioned before, because he explained it in an inspiring manner and in classic prose. We present here an English language rendition of these words. Okay. The basis of the extensions of the nation of Israel is the Torah alone. All the heavens and the earth were created for the sake of the Torah. And the spatial land of Israel was created as well for the Torah. The people of Israel were redeemed from slavery in Egypt only because they were to receive the Torah at the Mount Sinai and fulfill His commandments. The Torah was their greatest pride and achievement. It was far more important to them than their being redeemed from slavery. Because of all this, we have been commanded to count the days beginning with the first day after the initial Yom Tov of Pesach until the day of the giving of the Torah. Everything that happens, we formed as a nation. We have the matzah. We quickly went out. We saw the miracle, splitting the sea. It's all for one purpose. So we will receive the Torah and will become a united nation under Hashem and His Torah. That's the main purpose.
Amen.
Till today. Okay, so in this way we demonstrate how eagerly we anticipate the celebration. Did I skip something? The important them, I'm sorry, again. The important term of the Torah being redeemed, okay, slavery. Because of all this, we have been commanded to count the days beginning of the first day or after the initial Yom Tov Pesach until the day of the giving of the Torah. In this way, we demonstrate how eagerly we anticipate the celebration of the wonderful day. We were likened to a slave hard at work who eagerly waits for the long shadows of evening that signify the end of his workday. Like a slave waiting, just go back to sleep and rest. Seeing him count the hours, one can tell how anxiously, right? Anxiously. He awaits that moment and how it is foremost in his mind. Notice that we do not count how many days there are left until the festival of Shavuot. We're counting how many we pass already. Not there's 20 more days, there's 10 more days, there's 5 more days. No. We are counting how many days we had so far toward the 49th. Okay, we go up with the counting. Right. Notice that we do not count how many days there are left until the festival of Shavuot, but rather how many days have passed since we started waiting. This is because we do not wish to mention at the beginning of our count that there are so many days left until the Torah will finally be given to us. Okay, I think we are going to skip this part. I'm going to still just in a nutshell. There is according to the Rambam, the Rambam understood that this is mean that all other sages. Okay, it's an argument here, an explanation. If this is, you know what? Let me read this. That will be best. Nowadays, the question is this mitzvah of the Torah or of our sages? This is a rabbinical mitzvah or a mitzvah of the Torah? You'll be asked, hey, Omer, counting from the Torah or it's a rabbinical? What would you say?
Torah.
Right. I say it's the Torah too. It says it's in the Torah.
It says you shall count for yourself.
Yeah.
It says in the Torah, right?
So Moshe said it.
So you're saying it's simple. It's the Torah says it. It's in
It
the
must
Torah.
not be so simple, otherwise it wouldn't be on the focus.
The Torah seems to connect the mitzvah of counting the Omer with the mitzvah of bringing the korban of the Omer on the 16th Nisan. As the verse says in Vayikra, starting from the day that you bring the wave offering of the Omer. At this time, when we have no Beit HaMikdash, and we do not bring these korban, the korban, by the way, doesn't have to be an animal. It could be in the form of the wheat and the barley, like we said. Okay. Korban comes from inanimate, from vegetable, something that grows, okay, and also could be an animal. Okay, so korban. At this time, when we have no Beit HaMikdash, and we do not bring this korban, the great Rishonim debated whether the Torah commands us to count the days anyway, or by the way, Rishonim, you know where it starts? Around Rashi and Rambam. It's the days of the Rishonim. Now, the rabbis that pasken halachot for us, they called achronim. What Rishonim means? First, right? What achronim? The last. It means that we're really close. So Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky was acharonim. Rabbi Ovadia from the achronim. And these generations they call achronim, the last. So the great Rishonim debated whether the Torah commands us to count the days anyway, or if it exempts us from this mitzvah. The Rambam ruled that this mitzvah applies in every location and every era till today, meaning that even if the korban is not offered, there's no Beit Mikdash, the Torah nevertheless commands us to count the days. Most other Rishonim, however, ruled that in this era we are commanded to count the days by our sages, but not by the Torah. Because the Torah says it has to be bound with the korban. No korban, no counting. Rambam says it's two different mitzvahs. Korban is one. You don't have you can still count. What stops you from counting? Make sense? You get the idea here? This debate focuses on the passage in Menachot, the tractate 66a, stating that that most of the sages counted both the numbers of the days that have passed and the number of weeks that we have passed, like we do today. But Omer in the Talmud bothered only to count the days, claiming that the act of counting is simply to commemorate that. To commemorate what took place when the Beit HaMikdash stood. Okay, let me finish by saying that the Rambam understood this to mean that all the other sages ruled that the Torah commands us to fulfill the counting of the Omer even if there is no Beit Mikdash. Unlike Omer is a rabbi in the Talmud. Since the halacha is that we must count both the days and the weeks, it must be that the halacha is that it is a commandment of the Torah even in this era. So the Rishonim here going back and forth, we got the idea. We follow the custom today. Most of Jewish community follow that this is rabbinical. Okay, those who follow Rambam, understand that this is from the Torah, and this is why, if you forget, we'll see it later, Be'ezrat Hashem, you can count again with a bracha. Basically, what happened with us, if you missed a day, and you didn't count, and you didn't mention the days during the morning or whole day, let's say I didn't count yesterday. Okay? So, oops, I forgot. I can say the days today. Hayom, today is Tisha Yomim LaOmer, Shehem Shavuot Echad V'Shnei Yomim. Right? Today is the 9th day of the Omer, which is 1 week and 2 days. And I can continue with a bracha, with a blessing. Because everybody wants to do the blessing for the Omer with a bracha, because you earn a bracha. It's very important, right? Okay.
Is that machlokas between Ashkenaz, Sephardim, or?
No, Ashkenazim and Sephardim hold the same, more or less. If you miss a day, you can't count. You have to count without the bracha, or listen to someone else that says a bracha, and everybody. Right? Okay. I'm going to skip the first part when it says how you should say it, what's the nusach, what to read. The blessing is in the siddur. I'm going to skip all that. There's a different nusach, different version of how to say it between the Yemenite, the Ashkenazim, and the Sephardim. Everybody should follow his minhag. Yemenite counting in Aramaic, like the ancient days. And the Ashkenazim Sfardim, La Omer, Ba Omer, saying it before the days, after. Just follow your custom, it's all good. In the days, okay, on each day of the period of the Omer beginning half an hour before sunset, one may not eat a meal consisting of more than a kabeitza, like an egg of bread or cake, until one fulfills the mitzvah of counting the days of the Omer. In this case, kabeitza means the volume equal to an egg without its shell, about 50 grams or 1.8 ounces. Meaning, the idea is that you don't start a big meal, you do Birkat Hamazon, you go to sleep, you forget to do the Omer, counting the Omer. So you remember, I can't have dinner until I count the Omer. So you count the Omer. Right? That's the idea. Every night. This is the rule, even if one has already recited the Mincha prayer. If someone did begin a meal during this time, he must interpret the meal to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the days of the Omer. And then he may continue the meal, since it is not a lengthy interruption. You're counting really quickly, it takes less than 10 seconds. Okay. Any questions?
I have a question. What if you're waiting on more people in your house to get home, so you're not coming
So set up another reminder. Alexa, please remind me, and so and so.
What about on Shabbos if you're used to eating a
Yeah, you start the Seudah. Shabbos is a tricky one because many people forget, and I bet you many forget. Last time when we have Shabbat in the middle of the Yom Tov, they forgot to count because it's not something you usually do. You start a meal, you finish Birkat Hamazon, who knows where. Sometimes it's late, and you go by with your own things, and you forget. So people put a sign for themselves. They put some sort of a sign in the benchers, or setting up as someone to remind them before benching, we need to do something special. What is it? Counting. So someone will remind you at home, or put a sign for you at home, so you won't forget. God forbid it happens, you forgot to count. You can count during the day, in the morning. You can count all night, but if you forget, you can count in the morning without a blessing. After night, in the morning, okay, at dusk, right? Not at dusk, at dawn, right? After dawn, you can't count with a blessing. You must count without a blessing. If someone begins a meal earlier than this, it is not necessary to stop eating even if the meal continues into the evening, since it was permissible to begin the meal when he did. He may postpone his fulfillment of the mitzvah, in this case, until he finishes the meal. It is permissible without reservation to eat fruits or other food items before fulfilling the mitzvah of counting the days of the Omer. It is likewise permissible to eat a small amount of bread or cake up to kabitza. You can eat cereal, fruit, whatever. The concern is from a big meal that your mind is into this meal, the guests, people, whatever, preparation, and you forget to count the Omer. What about women? Are women need to count? The mitzvah is on them, or they are exempt. Women are exempt from the mitzvah of counting the days of the Omer, since it is a mitzvah that applies on particular dates. Any mitzvah that is time bound, right? Women are exempt.
Can they say bracha or no?
The general rule. Hold on. The general rule is that women are exempt from any mitzvah. Any mitzvah aseh, mitzvah to do, that is governed by time or date. If a woman wishes to perform this mitzvah, although she is not obligated in it, she may, but it's forbidden for her to recite the blessing over the mitzvah. If she would, she may be guilty of reciting a blessing in vain. According to the Kabbalah, however, women must refrain from counting the days of the Omer, even if they wish to count without reciting any blessing. Ask me why?
Because they'll forget.
Why?
It's worth a class by itself. We need to expand about it, why women should refrain from counting the Omer. Okay, in the meantime, you can dig a little bit. Ask Rabbi Google. I have a whole class about the Omer that explains this concept. So sometimes it's better to refrain. Okay, what time is Mincha? 7:50. Okay. 2 more halachot and we finish. What about kids? You have a child, 7 years old, 8 years old. He's already 2nd grade, 3rd grade. It's before his bar mitzvah. And he wants to say the beracha with the counting. Can he say the beracha with can he count with the bracha? What if he forget? Can he continue with the bracha? So the halacha says it is commendable to train children to count the days of the Omer every day with the blessing. If a child did not count the days of the Omer 1 or more days, he may nevertheless continue to recite the blessing for the remainder of the period of the Omer, so that he will be trained to fulfill the mitzvah correctly. Right? The idea here with this child is to train him. So even if he forgets, it's still okay for him. Let's halakha for today. How should one perform the mitzvah, standing or sitting? And why? Okay. One must stand up when fulfilling this mitzvah, the mitzvah of counting the days of the Omer. Our sages derive this from the verse in Devarim. When the sixth begins, counting the cut down, the standing grain, you should begin to count 7 days. As if the verse said, while standing, you should begin to count. Okay, the Hebrew word bekama, standing grain, has same letters as the word bekoma, while standing. If someone counted the days of the Omer while seated, however, he has fulfilled the mitzvah, and it's not necessary to count again. Someone for whom it is difficult to stand due to old age or illness may remain seated while fulfilling this mitzvah. The general rule is that when performing a mitzvah in the most preferred manner causes hardship, one may perform it in a less preferred manner. Okay? So, okay. Be'ezrat Hashem, next week we'll continue more about the Sefira, the customs during the Sefira, what's up with this shaving, not shaving, what about trimming fingernails, sport activities, listening to music, and all that we have to discuss. I want to wish you a wonderful week, and see you Be'ezrat Hashem in our Shabbat class. Shavuot Tov, thank you.